Jeremy Clarkson has sparked a national outcry with his explosive comments on the grooming gang scandal, plunging headfirst into one of the most contentious debates gripping the UK. In a blistering column for The Sun, Clarkson lambasted what he called the shackles of political correctness that he claims have paralysed the police, leaving countless victims without justice. But this isn't just about the police. Clarkson's remarks have thrown both Labour and the Conservatives into the spotlight, exposing deep divisions in how the issue has been handled and mishandled by Britain's political elite. The scandal erupted once again last week when Labour MPs overwhelmingly voted down a Conservative motion to launch a national inquiry into grooming gangs. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer defended the decision, arguing that past inquiries, such as those in Rotherham and Telford, had already exposed the horrifying scale of abuse. In Rotherham alone, 1,400 children were victimised over 16 years, while in Telford the number reached up to 1,000 over 4 decades. Starmer claimed that a new inquiry would only delay justice for victims, insisting that existing mechanisms must focus on delivering real results. Clarkson, however, was having none of it. In his column, he painted a damning picture of a system crippled by fear and bureaucracy. He described a hypothetical scenario of a young girl reporting her abuse to the police, only to be dismissed by an officer afraid of being labelled racist. "We need to explain that it's not racist to investigate a rapist," Clarkson declared, arguing that the fear of cancellation is preventing the police from doing their jobs. According to him, Britain doesn't need another inquiry filled with grandstanding officials looking for media coverage. What it needs is decisive action to break the stranglehold of political correctness on law enforcement. Clarkson's remarks have touched a nerve, with his comments echoing the frustrations of many who feel the justice system has failed grooming gang victims. The media firestorm surrounding his statements has also reignited fierce criticism of Labour's handling of the scandal. GB News commentator Mike Parry added fuel to the fire with a scathing critique of the party, accusing it of prioritising political considerations over justice. Parry alleged that Labour is afraid of alienating key voter blocs in constituencies with large Muslim populations, pointing to reports that MPs have been advised not to mention ethnicity during debates on the issue. "This is a horrendous, shocking betrayal of these young girls," Parry fumed, adding that the crimes committed by grooming gangs represent one of the most appalling failures of his 5 decades as a journalist. Adding a new layer of intrigue, Elon Musk entered the fray with a series of inflammatory social media posts targeting Starmer. Musk labelled the Labour leader evil for opposing the inquiry, a sentiment that quickly went viral. Clarkson, while disagreeing with Musk's harsh characterisation, nonetheless criticised Starmer's judgment, calling him just daft instead. For Clarkson, Labour's decision reflects a failure to address the systemic issues at the heart of the scandal rather than outright malice. Still, his remarks have amplified the growing public outrage directed at the political establishment. While Labour faces intense scrutiny, the Conservatives haven't escaped criticism either. Many have questioned why the party, which has been in power for over a decade, hasn't done more to tackle the problem. Critics argue that the Tories' sudden push for a national inquiry feels more like political posturing than a genuine effort to address the failures that have allowed grooming gangs to operate with impunity. By turning the spotlight on Labour, the Conservatives may be trying to divert attention from their own shortcomings in tackling this pervasive issue. Health Secretary Wes Streeting has also weighed in, warning that inflammatory rhetoric surrounding the scandal could incite violence against entire communities. While Streeting's call for caution has been praised by some, others view it as a deflection tactic meant to shield Labour from criticism. For many, the focus should remain squarely on delivering justice for victims, rather than tiptoeing around sensitive topics out of fear of backlash. The fallout from this scandal extends beyond the grooming gangs debate, as Labour faces mounting challenges on multiple fronts. Economic turmoil is threatening to undermine the party's credibility, with Treasury officials recently instructing ministers to identify ruthless spending cuts. The government is under pressure to find savings amid warnings that its borrowing rules are at risk of being breached. Chancellor Rachel Reeves has already faced backlash for her economic policies, including the controversial decision to means-test winter fuel payments. The move has left many pensioners without vital support, fueling public anger at a time when the cost of living crisis continues to bite. A petition demanding an end to means testing and calling for a rise in state pension payments has garnered thousands of signatures, reflecting widespread dissatisfaction with Labour's handling of social welfare issues. Critics argue that the party's decisions risk alienating key voter groups, including pensioners, who have traditionally been a reliable source of support. Reeves has defended her policies as necessary to address fiscal challenges, but many fear they could pave the way for austerity-like measures reminiscent of the Conservative-led cuts under George Osborne. These economic woes have compounded the sense of disillusionment among voters, many of whom feel that neither Labour nor the Conservatives are capable of addressing the country's most pressing issues. For Clarkson, this broader failure of leadership is precisely why the grooming gang scandal has remained such a festering wound in British society. His intervention has reignited a national conversation about justice, accountability, and the role of political correctness in shaping public policy. While some have praised him for speaking out, others worry his comments could inflame tensions and further polarize an already divided nation. Clarkson's role as a media provocateur has undoubtedly amplified the public's frustration with the status quo, but his entry into this debate also highlights the challenges of balancing free speech with responsible discourse. Critics of Clarkson argue that his rhetoric risks oversimplifying a complex issue, potentially fueling division rather than fostering understanding. Yet his defenders contend that Clarkson's bluntness is exactly what's needed to shake the political establishment out of its complacency. As the scandal continues to unfold, the stakes couldn't be higher for Britain's political leaders. For Labour, the controversy represents a critical test of its ability to navigate a highly charged issue without alienating key constituencies. For the Conservatives, it's an opportunity to capitalise on Labour's missteps, but also a reminder of their own failures to act decisively during their time in power. And for victims of grooming gangs, it's a painful reminder that justice remains elusive, as political gamesmanship and ideological battles overshadow their plight. Jeremy Clarkson's intervention may have added fuel to the fire, but it has also forced the nation to confront uncomfortable truths about the limits of political correctness and the failures of institutional leadership. Whether his remarks will lead to meaningful change or simply deepen the divides remains to be seen. One thing, however, is certain: this scandal is far from over, and its impact will be felt for years to come. Britain is watching, waiting, and demanding answers. Will its leaders finally deliver? Or will the victims of these heinous crimes be left waiting in vain? Only time will tell. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to share with your friends. Subscribe to not miss our latest news.